What do I do with an ex that wants to be friends after she has broken up with me?
Who broken up with me? Nothing. Deuces. Say bye-bye. Say bye-bye. Say bye-bye to her. What?
Ain't no friends.
Let me read this again. What do I do with an ex that wants to be friends after she broke up with me? She got me twisted. What's up, fam? Welcome back to our channel. My name is Tim. This is my beautiful wife, Pauline, and you are tuning in to the 100th episode of the W Podcast, where you get wisdom in the word with the
Wheelers.
Hey, so let's just pause and say 100 episodes. Like,
wow.
Babe, that's crazy.
Shout out to you.
That's crazy. Everybody don't make it to 100 podcast episodes, and that wouldn't be possible without you listening every single week. So literally, to anybody who's ever subscribed to our channel, listened to our podcast, shared it with a friend, listened on Apple or Spotify, like, we are grateful.
Yes. Thank you so much for coming on this journey with us. It's been so fun, and God is just getting started.
So we would love if you could just put in the comments maybe your favorite episode, maybe what's the biggest thing you've taken away from our podcast. Just a small way to show us that we're doing something that's actually impacting the people. We would love to just see your comments and be able to engage with you there, because 100 episodes like that,
right?
And we just want to thank also every guest that's ever come on our podcast, because they helped us get here as well. So we're just grateful. We love y'all. Like, our desire, if you don't know, the reason we have this page is we want to bring clarity to Christian dating. And we want to help people who may not be clear on how to date in a godly way. Or maybe you are clear, but you just need encouragement because you look everywhere else in the world and no one else is really trying to live in a way that honors God with their relationship. And this is the safe place you can come to remind yourself that you're not crazy, that dating God's way is the best way, and that there's other people doing it just like you. So why ever or however you're watching or listening to our podcast, we love you, we appreciate you, and we plan to be here for a long time, God willing. So without further ado, we told y'all we getting back to our roots with this episode. If you don't know, we actually started this podcast of literally just answering your questions. We still have an anonymous form that you can fill out on our About page on YouTube, in our link trees, any other social media platform, and you can literally fill it out and ask us any question. Nothing is off limits that you have about sex, dating, relationships, complications, like whatever it is, you can ask us, and we do our best to try to get to the questions. So today we're doing a rapid fire Q&A.
Ooh, I hope we can do it.
So we didn't prepare anything for these questions.
Yeah. It's going to be off the cuff, from the heart.
Off the cut, it's going to be raw. Now, just because we didn't prepare anything don't mean we're not prepared, because we've been doing this for like 7 years now. So we ready. It's all up in here. We're gonna have a good time, but we wanted to do something that was fresh. Fun.
Celebrate the 100th episode, yes.
We should have had some balloons or something that said 100. But without further ado, let's get into it. What is the first question? Let me just tell y'all, buckle up, because y'all be asking some spicy questions.
Absolutely. Some
real questions. And I know the person who asked these questions is a bunch of different people, but they're not the only ones who have these questions. I'm sure you have similar questions or thoughts. So let's get into it.
All right, the first question is, I've been with my partner for nearly a year now. They are a really great person. However, I'm not the most attracted to them. I've been going back and forth about trying to move past the attraction aspect versus breaking it off. Any advice? ? For context, they check like 80 to 85% of my boxes. Thank you.
U-G-L-Y, you ain't got no L. Okay, I'm sorry.
None of God's children are ugly.
Yes, beautifully.
God doesn't make ugly things.
I didn't say they're ugly. That's what she said.
That's not what she said. And we're assuming it's a female, but we really don't know.
I am not the most attracted to them. All right. Let's get into this. I'm glad you said that, because we really don't know this, because this is anonymous. So we don't know.
They didn't specify pronouns. So.
I'm glad you said that, because honestly, I just assumed it was an ugly guy.
Yeah, why? Guys are usually uglier than girls.
It may be, but you don't know. So I'll answer it from both ways.
You think it's a different answer per whether
I don't think it's a different.
Where it's coming from?
I don't think it's a different answer, but different perspective. And that's one thing. If you've been following us for 2 years now, like, like, we just try to give perspective on godly dating. We don't claim to have all the answers, but we do believe we have perspectives that we can share.
But I think this is the benefit of having a female-male podcast. So how about you answer it from the guy's perspective? Like, if you're a guy in this situation, how would you, like, if you woke up in this situation, what would you do? And then I can answer as a girl.
I want to do both.
Okay, fine. We're going to get there, guys. This is rapid fire. We're not being very rapid right now.
Hey, you talking. I'm trying to go. So, let's get into it. The first thing that comes to my mind, I'm not the most attracted to them. So, if this is from a guy perspective, one of my questions would be, is it really that she's not attractive? Or is it that you've been polluting your eyes with so many different images online? Here's what I mean by that. Because of social media, it is a lot harder to not covet things that we don't have.
Right.
Because we see people online that either are beautiful, or maybe they have the house that we want, or maybe they have the car we want, and we probably think in our head, like, I could get that too, or I should have that too. Yeah. And I'm not saying that this is the person who asked this, but I just want to put that perspective out there that maybe it's not that the person you're dating isn't attractive. Maybe it's you're too busy looking at different images online, maybe even images of people that you shouldn't even be looking at, lusting over people, that all of that has clouded your judgment. Because honestly, we haven't talked about it much on this podcast. Maybe we should do an episode about it, but porn is a real thing that unfortunately a lot of Christians struggle with. And if someone is watching that constantly, that is going to affect their view of women, of men, of sex, of relationships. It messes it up. And porn is not the only thing that does that. The movies you watch, the music you listening to. I got me a foreign. Like if you always listen to stuff like that, like, it's going to be hard for you to want a little American boy. So I'm just saying, all that to say, we got to be mindful of what we're watching, what we're looking at, what we're listening to, because that could affect what we have. Because you could be dating somebody who is attractive, who is beautiful, but because they may not look like a celebrity that you follow, or somebody that is super beautiful on Instagram or TikTok, that you start thinking, well, maybe they're not that attractive.
Right.
And that gets into the whole concept of, well, maybe there's someone else out there better for me.
Right.
Now, they also said they check off like 85% of the boxes. Like, that's a high rate.
That's what stood out to me. It's like, that's a B plus.
Because nobody is going to check off 100%. That's rare. I should say that.
Rare? I think it's impossible. Or unless your list is very short, like,
I'm just
breathe.
trying, you never know. It's 8 billion people.
Be of the opposite gender and breathe.
So 80% is really strong. And I would say, obviously, we're not telling you, please hear us. We're not saying marry somebody who you think is ugly. We're not saying marry somebody who you can't see yourself being happy with for the rest of your life. Because we've talked about it before. We've heard stories of people crying when their babies come out because their partner's ugly. I don't want that to happen to you. But if it's not really necessarily the attraction piece, and maybe that's something you need to flesh out in your community. Right. Maybe you need to talk to your mentor. Maybe you need to talk to some friends. Like, yo, am I tripping?
Yeah.
They can help you. And you need to be vulnerable in that conversation. Right. Like, if you are the person who's looking at things you shouldn't look at, or maybe you're exposing yourself to too many things. Because let's be honest, y'all. Like, there's always going to be somebody more beautiful. There's always going to be somebody more attractive. That's just how the world works. Right. So you could constantly be searching for something like that. I'm long-winded. Today.
What to say?
Just for this question.
One.
All right, let's go. What you guys say?
I mean, you covered a lot of it, but my rapid fire answer is to just really ask yourself what's your definition of attraction. If I were to ask you, well, who do you think is an attractive person? Like, give me some examples.
Are you attractive? Sorry, I just.
And that was the other piece about it, was I would kind of ask yourself, like, what level you're on. And I know that that's kind of a controversial thing, but like, and there is, there's just levels to attraction. There's levels to finances. There's levels to, like education. There's levels to career. There's levels to age. All those different things. Like, if you want to marry a CEO, but you're an entry-level accountant. Like, I think we should maybe be a little bit more realistic about, not realistic in the sense of settling, but more of like, why do you want somebody who is at that level? So if you want somebody who looks like Beyonce, I mean, do you have Jay-Z money at least? Like, Jay-Z? No, he doesn't. He clearly does not look, his beauty is not on the same level as his wife.
I thought you said nobody was ugly.
I didn't say that he was ugly. I'm just saying that, you know, like, there's levels to it, and also just the idea of beauty and attraction is just such an interesting topic that I feel like we're always like going back and forth about. It's between you and I, but yeah, I think that, you know, you don't marry somebody, you may marry or you may date somebody because of how they look, but that's not why you don't divorce them. You know, like, a lot of times when we get married, we're, like, excited because we think, you know, what's this person going to add to my life? What am I going to add to their life? But a lot of divorces happen, you know, not because she got ugly, or he got ugly, or she let herself go after we had kids, or he got fat after he stopped, you know, working out, or whatever the case is. Like, if your marriage is full of love and joy and sacrifice and generosity and service, like, you're going to have a great marriage. I think that a lot of us, like, you know, kind of buy into that lie that, like, sex is, like, the crux and, like, the pillar and the foundation of a marriage, and that's really not true. And that's why things like porn exist, and why you can go and have sex with somebody tonight and, like, never see them again. Like, I just think that that's a very shallow reason to break up with somebody, if I'm being completely honest with you. Like, so another question you can ask yourself is, why did you start dating them? Because I highly doubt that they've changed too much since y'all started getting together. You know, they could have fluctuated, you know, a little bit in how they look, but, you know, if they check off, yeah, like if you said 80 to 85%, that's extremely high. It's a very, very, I think I've heard it said, you know, if you're at 70 or above, like, you're lucky. And that doesn't mean because God won't answer all your prayers. It means people are flawed. People are sinful. Even though you may think you're marrying somebody, even if you think when you're getting married that person is 100%, when you get married, you'll find out they're not as generous as you thought they were. So it's really, I think this question is really more about you as a person. What type of person am I? What type of person do I want to partner with? Versus, like, is this person kind of good enough for me? But it's like, do I want to, because I just think about, like, if y'all are so great together, and if you decide to break up with them, you're gonna tell people, yeah, we broke up because they didn't look good enough for me, and then you could see them again in 6 months, and then they look the way you want them to look, and then all of a sudden you'd be like, hey, let's go out again. Like, I don't think that would go too well. So you just have to ask yourself who you want to be, what type of person you want to be. Sure, maybe, like, your kids may not look a certain way that you want them to look, but I think that character, like, trumps everything. And I'm not saying you should have ugly kids, but I just think that things are more, you know, just get your priorities straight.
Yeah. Again, I really think, because this is supposed to be rapid fire, I really think you should make sure you talk to mentors, talk to accountability, talk to friends about this, because they can give you perspective, like, yo, you're tripping, or, right, hey, girl, you tripping. All right, let's go. Next question.
We'll get faster at this.
Probably not.
This next question is super long. I just recently discovered you guys and absolutely love the podcast. Thanks so much. We love you too. My boyfriend and I, so this is a girl, are both active in our churches. Same church, different cities. We are 2.5 hours away from each other. I have certainty that God placed him in my path. We've already had so many struggles in the year we've been together. Actual boyfriend-girlfriend for 7 months. But from my ex trying to start up rumors, not understanding how to love each other because of the way we were raised, his dad passing this August. It's
a lot of stuff. Let's just pause here, because this is a lot.
Yes.
It's a long question. Praise God.
We've been through a lot. Thankfully, we both allow God to mold us and have compromised on many things. He didn't like physical touch. I loved holding hands. He's more logical. I'm more emotional, etc. We've talked about marriage and it seems to be a topic up in the air. He says he wants to marry me, but we never seem to get anywhere past that. In his head, he wants to have a full-on career before marriage. No apartment to start off with. He wants to already have a house, etc. I understand he wants us to be stable and taken care of beforehand, but it makes me think I might not be getting the ring anytime soon. He always says, on God's time, but I tell him, God isn't going to come down until you two propose. God will take care of us. But anyway, any thoughts on this? Am I being too pushy? I struggle with temptation with said ex, so I know I don't want to fall into that with my man, but I don't want to also play with fire if we have to wait too long to get married.
Yeah, love this question. Great question. First of all, thank you for rocking with us and loving our podcast. And yeah, long question, but it's good because now we can give you a thorough answer. So even though it's long, we still love you. I don't think you're being too pushy at all. You've been dating, was this the one? 7 months? I don't think that's too pushy, especially depending on how old y'all are. Like, a lot of relationships, the older you are, the quicker it seems the relationships go. So I don't think you're being too pushy, especially because it's not like you're saying, at least you didn't write, that you're saying, you need to marry me today. Or I need to be
like
married.
An ultimatum.
Yeah, it's not an ultimatum. You're just asking, hey, like, what are your plans? And there's absolutely nothing wrong with that. Actually, we encourage women, if they're not getting those clear answers, to ask questions. I think, unfortunately, a lot of men can fall into this situation where, and their hearts are in the right place, so no judgment most of the time. Their hearts are in the right place of, I want to provide, I want to make sure I have a certain lifestyle, and obviously I 100% respect that. But I think sometimes we can use that. It comes in two ways. Sometimes that can be a scapegoat, unintentionally, unconsciously. Sometimes they're not really ready to get married, so they're using this. Oh, I want to have this in place.
But if it's always like a moving finish,
right? It's always like a moving. I gotta have a house. I gotta have this type of job, and it's like, all right, I know those things ain't really coming soon, and it gives me more time to continue dating you because I love you. But marriage scares me. That could be one. I'm not saying that's your boyfriend, but that could be an option. The second thing is, some dudes really just have bad intentions, or their intentions aren't clear in the sense that they like you, but they don't really want to marry you. They like the company. They just want to
leading on,
kind of leading you on. And I'm not saying again that that's your boyfriend, but for someone that's in a situation like this, that could be the case. And here's what I suggest. And I know that you said, I believe that like y'all have had some conversations, but they haven't gone anywhere. I would suggest you talk to him and say, hey, next week, the end of this month, whatever, let's sit down. I want to have an honest conversation about marriage and be upfront and say, hey, this is not going to be a conversation of me bombarding you. Why haven't I gotten a ring yet?
Yeah.
This is going to be a conversation of us learning each other, and I want to be able to share my heart about what I feel about marriage and like where I would like us to be, and then I want you to be able to share your heart on where you are. And this should really be a safe conversation, maybe at a neutral site like a Panera Bread or something like that, and maybe you all have time to pray about it before you even go into the meeting individually. And really, the point of this conversation is to share your hearts. So there's no judgment. Whatever he says is how he feels. Whatever you say is how you feel. But the goal is to be able to understand where this person is.
Right.
Because right now, I don't feel like you really know where he is. Obviously, he's saying, like, I don't want to get married because I want to have a house and all this stuff. But this conversation needs to be why.
Right.
I need to understand why do you need that?
Yeah.
Why do you feel that? It's because you want to learn his heart. Maybe because of his background. Maybe he saw his parents struggling and he doesn't want to go through that. And you just never know what fears people are going through. But this could be such a healthy conversation for you to get to know him. Like, okay, that's why you think that way. And then this could be an opportunity for you to be able to share your heart and be like, hey, this is why I want to get married.
Right.
Because I don't want to fall into sin. Because I love you. Because I want to start building my life together.
Right.
And I think that's so key because he may not really understand how important it is for you all to have some type of clear direction towards marriage, because maybe you haven't been able to fully articulate it. Maybe you're still thinking about it yourself, but when you come to that meeting, you'll have had time to really sit down and say, this is what I need, this is why I need it. And then after you leave that conversation, let's be honest, y'all, we're all grown, all right? Dating is about evaluation, and I know it's hard because you're talking to somebody, those heartstrings start coming in, but at the end of the day, we can't be with people who aren't willing to move forward. Yeah. And if you're dating somebody and you have a conversation with them and you realize that you all are not close to that marriage timeline and you've been dating for a reasonable amount of time where you should be beginning to have those type of conversations, I'm not saying you need to break up in that moment, but what I am saying is I would definitely advise getting some mentors involved, getting pastors involved to sit down with you both, because it's always good when you can have another man look another man in the eye and be like, bro, I 100% get it, but let me tell you that is not what matters the most when it comes to a marriage. Because we know people, we all have known people who had all the money in the world and could move into a house, and their marriage didn't last 72 days.
Yeah.
Like, that's just what it is.
That's what's going to make your marriage strong.
What makes your marriage strong is character, commitment to each other, the willingness to put in the hard work, the willingness to forgive, foundation on Christ. Like, all of those things will bring the marriage together, not money.
Right.
And unfortunately, money
or milestones.
Money sometimes can cloud our judgment.
100%.
I've heard a pastor say, like, money, everybody thinks it's like the number one thing, but they're like, money's not even in your top 3. Because if I told you I would give you $1 million today, but you were going to die tomorrow, would you still take the $1 million?
Right.
If I told you I was going to give you $1 million today, but your mom was going to pass away, would you still take it? Like, no, you wouldn't, because that's not the number one thing, even though our minds sometimes try to make us think it is. And I just think maybe being able to have somebody else, because he may not be able to hear this from you.
Right.
Because all he may hear is you pressuring him for a ring, even though that's not your heart. But that could just be how he takes it because of whatever. So I think sometimes when you can involve wise counsel, that really helps be able to help them see it from a different perspective that's not you.
Yeah, so good. So really, I love the suggestion of like having an intentional meeting so that no one's blindsided and he can feel prepared. I would also, I mean, even just add to that point, like really what you want is context. So like, because I think as women, sometimes we struggle. Like, we don't mind waiting or, like, we don't mind things not being on our timeline, but we need a timeline. So, even if it's like, you know, okay, you don't want to get married this year, I understand that. Are you willing to get engaged? Like, kind of let me know. Like, give me some type of, you know, idea. And, you know, I'm sure him saying things like, oh, on God's timing, like, that's super, super vague. And, like, yeah, and, like, just like you said, depending on where he is in life, like, getting a house, like, that may not be for, like, 10 years.
And can I just say, maybe you were able to speak on this, that I didn't even, like, really get the process, like, his dad passing in August, like, how much of an impact that could be having on, like, his situation.
Well, right, and that's why you want more context. Like, you just really want to know, like, okay, like, in general, like, do you want to get married? Yes, you do. Okay, great. Like, you respect and honor the institution of marriage as something that you want to participate in. Like, do you want to participate with me? Okay, great. Like, when do you want to do that? Like, we have to work through all the different layers of this. But I would say just keep an open hand. I know that you said you're very certain that, like, this person is from God. And I think, you know, I've definitely been in a situation where I felt like somebody was, like, the one for me or the person that I wanted to be with, but it takes more than love and, you know, kind of having a good relationship to enter into marriage with somebody, just like you spoke about, like lifestyles and like just different things aligning, and timing is a big part of that. Like, some people say, like, right person, wrong time is the wrong person, and I hope that you're not, like, hearing me of, like, okay, she just wants us to break up, because that's not the case at all. But I do think that it's really hard to hear when you're only listening for certain things. So, like, he may have been giving you clues the whole time, and yes, he does need to be clear with you about, you know, a timeline and kind of like what the next year, 6 months, year of his life is going to look like, or what he wants it to look like. But I also think too that, you know, love is blind, love is deaf. Like, we miss out on a lot of things and a lot of clues. That's why it's always good to have community. But you also need to be open to hearing what your community has to say. If you are pretty much like, nope, this is the guy, we're going to get married as soon as possible. Because I know that you mentioned that because of your own past and your own context, like, you don't want to fall into sin, which is obviously a great, you know, thing to not want to do. It's a good heart, but also, like, just, that doesn't mean that marriage is right now. Like, sometimes we want to just get a quick fix to things. Like, marriage doesn't heal lust. Marriage doesn't cure porn addiction. It only magnifies problems that we already have, so it's going to be really, really tough, and I want you to go into marriage with proper expectations. I want you to be prepared. I know that you're not talking about running down the aisle and skipping premarital counseling and all those different things, but you also don't want to drag a man down the aisle. So, and I know that that's not what you want to do, but, or specifically with this guy, but I also think that, you know, having these courageous conversations, you know, as Tim mentioned with, you know, you guys sitting down at a Panera or something like that, like, you have to be ready for whatever his response is going to be or not be. Because if you have this meeting, that doesn't mean he's like, all right, cool, like, I'm going to make this timeline up now, because he really may not be ready for that. I don't know. And like how this whole process kind of goes will tell you a little bit about his leadership and just where he is, and you asking yourself, like, do I want to follow somebody who's this is where they are in their life, and that's fine, to grow with people and things like that, but just keep an open hand and open heart towards the Lord. If he brought this person into your life, like, he will work it out, and if he brings this person out of your life, he'll bring somebody else in.
Yeah, and by no means are we saying that your boyfriend or anybody else in this situation is a bad guy or is leading you on, because they're not clear on where they are right now. But what we are saying is, it's kind of a red flag if you say, I want to have this healthy conversation, and they are pushing you off. Then I would have a problem, because I'm just trying to seek clarity. I'm trying to help us connect with each other on a deeper level, and you not wanting to have a conversation is hindering us from that. To me, that's a problem.
Right.
Next question.
All right. How to respond? I think this is meant to write. How should I respond to a man who wants to get to know me, but he follows a lot of IG models?
I just want to get to know you.
You like that song?
Girl, y'all don't know nothing about that. Young Bloods. All right. Read the question one more time, because I was having fun.
How should I respond to a man who wants to get to know me, but follows a lot of IG models?
IG models. I saw a clip this past week. The guy was like, y'all dudes need to stop playing. He was like, there's too many bikini pics and naked women or half-naked women showing up in your Explore page. Because your Explore page...
Oh, because it's smart.
It's kind of like, this is what you like. And it's like, well, why is you getting so many recommendations? So, anyway, how should you respond? To me, I'm just going to keep it 100. Y'all know, I'm speaking from a godly man perspective. Not one who's perfect, but one who's trying to do his best to do everything he can to honor God. Mm-hmm. I know me and a lot of other dudes that are Christians trying to live for God, they can't follow women who are considered IG models, because lust is going to flare up at a quick. Yeah. Like, I'm all about trying to be intentional to not put myself in situations where lust could be a thing, because y'all have heard us say it before, we're not that holy. We know that any given moment we could fall into temptation. Right. We could fall into sin. So we try to intentionally put ourselves out of those situations. So honestly, it's a red flag for me. Not saying that the guy's a bad dude, not saying that he is someone that lusts, but I would just be curious, like, why do you need to follow them? Like, what's the point of that? Maybe it's childhood friends. Maybe he has them, because you can follow people and like have them hidden, so like you don't see their stuff, but you still follow.
I didn't think about that.
So you just never know.
Like,
but
I mean, I feel like that would only be okay if it was like his sister. But how many sisters do you have?
Yeah, so you never know. But to be clear, like, it is a red flag for me. I'm not saying you can't get to know the guy like as a next step, like just like have conversations with him. But before I ever had a serious relationship with somebody, I would definitely want clarity on why are you following IG models. Like, honestly, as blunt as that. And if they got upset about that, deuces. Like, there's other guys that aren't doing that, and I'm okay. Because here's the thing. Nothing's worse than a woman, and you tell me, I feel like one of the worst things is a woman being with somebody who is constantly looking at other women. Like, if me and you were out and we were walking down the street, and I was like, good, like, that would
focus.
You probably would. I don't know if I want to find out what that would be. So that's what I would say.
I'm not mean, but God is. Well, God's not.
What?
I'm not mean. I'm
Neither
not
is
mean.
God.
Neither is God, but God would get you.
Vengeance is mine, says the Lord.
God got me. He got me covered.
All right, let's go.
How to respond? I mean, I think that if this is somebody that you don't know, so if this is somebody that like DM'd you and you're like, okay, like, shout out to you for doing your research on looking at who this guy follows, because that's good.
I would suggest all ladies do that. I don't care.
Men too. Let me see what you're looking at. What you're interested in.
Magic Mike. What? Oh, sorry.
That's not even what? Anyway.
Yeah, she followed that. I gotta go.
But yeah, I think it's just so important because, like, I know something you have said before. I don't know if your dad told you or another like awesome guy, but you know, like, you can. Your dad's awesome. Love your dad. But you can't control the first look, but you can control the second. When it comes to like lust and like, honestly, I'm not talking about guys, but I don't need to be looking at IG models and women in swimsuits. Not only just from a lust perspective, not that I'm like lusting after women, but those are just sexual images that are.
Can I just explain that quote real quick?
Yeah.
Because you said you can't control the first look, but you can control the second. And what that even means by control the first look is if I'm walking down the street and I see something, like, I couldn't. It's not like I was expecting or planning to look at that. It just happened. But I can turn my head. Right. But it's when I come back, like that's the problem.
Right, where you start feasting with your eyes. But anyway, so I think that it's really hard to keep your mind away from lust and sexual images and things like that when you're choosing to follow those people. Like, it's what we've all had those moments where you're like scrolling on Instagram or looking on stories and you see something that you didn't want to see and you're like, oh, I gotta swipe away from that. But when you like intentionally go and follow those people, knowing the type of content that they post, definitely questionable. Now there's grace. Like, I would definitely, I wouldn't judge a man who follows a lot of like sexual content pages. I would just be like, okay, he doesn't know any better, and I hope that he figures that out. I hope that he gets,
but
some
you don't
community.
gotta figure it out with you.
Yeah, exactly. Like, that just tells me where you are right now. And I definitely
so it'd be an automatic no for you.
Oh yeah, 100%. And like, we of course don't really have a lot of context with this question. Like, I don't know if this is somebody that you also know in person, or like this is friends of friends, or like if there's a lot of other great things about him that you are considering, but this is like the one problem. It may seem like a small problem that can absolutely become a big problem. Like one spark can set a whole forest fire, and lust does spread very fast if we don't control it. And if you are intentionally following them, I would say you're not trying to control it. Again, if he just gave his life to Christ yesterday, that's awesome. It does take time, right? But that doesn't mean you need to be in a relationship.
Yeah, because the Bible tells us to flee sexual sin. That ain't fleeing. Right. Next question.
Okay, a friend told me that we are just friends, but later said that she was trying to set boundaries. When I apologized to her, our grammar.
Just start over.
A friend told me that we are just friends, but later said that she was trying to set boundaries when I apologized to her for making her feel uncomfortable. How can I rebuild a healthy relationship?
Rebuild a healthy relationship. This question is a little hard without more context, just because, like, how you rebuild a friendship, because a healthy relationship, it sounds like y'all never actually had a dating relationship, so I'm assuming that you mean, how do I build a healthy friendship with this person? It may be awkward for a while. Like, that's just what it is. Like, you made it uncomfortable, and sometimes when you take a step out in faith, that can happen, and you just got to give people time to process their feelings. But yeah, I mean, how close are friends were y'all really? Like, if y'all were never really that good of a friends, I would just move on. Like,
right.
What would you say? Focus
on the friendships that you do have that are healthy. If people are trying to set boundaries, like, all you can do is ask for clarity on the boundary. Because it sounds like perhaps you were unclear about the boundary.
Does it sound like to you that they're like holding out hope? Because they said a friend told me that we're just friends,
yeah.
But later said that she was just trying to set boundaries when I apologized for making her feel uncomfortable. How can I rebuild a healthy relationship? To me, it's like, well, she said she was just friends, but then she came back and kind of retracted it, so maybe I can build a healthy relationship with her.
Right.
If that's the angle you're going, I would be careful. Because, yeah, she was trying to set boundaries because she don't rock with you like that. Like, if she was interested, then she would have wanted to pursue it.
I think it'd be different if she came back and was like, hey, I know I said I just want to be friends with you, but, like, I changed my mind and I would like to get to know you better, like, in a romantic way. Like, be straight up, be straight up with it. We all make mistakes or whatever.
It can be awkward. Like, as a woman, I'm sure, like, you don't want to hurt a dude's feeling. When a guy's like, I'm sorry that I kind of came on to you. You don't want to be like, yeah, I don't like you like that. What did you thinking? Like, so I feel like a lot of women would be in that situation of like, they're not retracting what they said, but they don't want it to come across harsh. Yeah, some people have a hard time, but that's what it is. You have to be unapologetic with your boundaries. Like, you can't be like, oh, well, this is the boundary, but this, and all these clauses and addendums. Like, the boundary is the boundary. Yeah. All right, next question. What will I do with an ex that wants to be... Okay, this is question 5. What do I do with an ex that wants to be friends after she has broken up with me? Who? Broken up with me? Nothing. Deuces. Say bye-bye. Say bye-bye. Say bye-bye to her. What? Ain't no friends. Let me read this again. What do I do with an ex that wants to be friends after she broke up with me? She got me twisted. Well, they're probably still in like a similar friend group or something. I don't care. Why you break up with me if you want to be friends? Because people they enjoy each other's company, but they don't want to be in an exclusive relationship. Nah, that's too confusing for me. Personally, I wouldn't really want to be friends with that person, especially like if she broke up with you. Like, you may still have feelings for them, yeah, or you may not. But that's just weird to me. Like, why are we staying friends? Especially like. This kind of makes it seem like she wants to be, like, close friends and, like, still be, like, involved in your life. Yeah, I mean, I think a lot of it depends on how long ago the breakup was. Like, if you guys just broke up yesterday, and I hate when people do this, like, oh, I don't want to be with you, but we can still be friends. No. Get out of my face. Like, why would you fire me and then say, like, yeah, still come around? No, absolutely not. You don't see my value, done. But I'm not saying you can't be friends later down the road, and, like, what you have to really iron out what friendship looks like. Like, are you going to be okay when she starts dating again? Is she going to be okay when you start dating somebody else again? Let me say this. You absolutely should be cordial because, like, I feel like that's respectful because that's just what a good Christian man should do. But being friends, now let's think long term. She is your ex. She wants to be friends. When you start dating again, when you're married one day, do you think your wife's going to be happy that you and your ex are still chummy, like real good friends? Chummy. That's just something to consider. I feel like sometimes we don't think long term about how relationships and situations that we're in will impact our future. Yeah, I mean, on one hand, you can feel really good about yourself because, like, especially depending on, like, what's really going on. If she's, like, really seeking out, like, hey, I miss you, I want to be friends, like, we should still be friends even though we're not together anymore. It's like, girl, you miss me. Like... No, like, if you want to be around me, then you should have worked harder on our relationship. Like, you don't get the benefits, you don't get the milk without the cow, And I'm not saying it even in a sexual way, even in an emotional way, too. And, like, people... And we talk about friends with benefits in, like, a sexual way, but friends with benefits can be emotional, too. And, like, some people really like the companionship of, like, having somebody to FaceTime, having somebody on your phone. Not me. I'm not a placeholder until your next boyfriend comes around. Oh. Like, absolutely not. Like, that's not even good for me, because I know that, especially because you broke up with me, like, I'm going to be missing you, and I'm going to be thinking, the lines are going to get blurred for me. So, yeah, like, I need time, and you could say... hey, like, thank you so much for coming to me with this and, like, expressing your, like, your desire for a friendship or whatever like that. For me right now, it's best for us to not be friends. And you can be honest and say, like, because of these reasons, because I need to work on myself. You don't even got to say all that. Just be like, no, that's not going to work. No thanks. You don't owe this. You don't hear no explanation. That's fine. You can say, that's not going to work for me. But I wish you the best. Next question. Yikes. Okay, question 6. How soon should you let someone know your abstinence? Or I think this is supposed to mean that you are abstinent. But is it before the first meeting, during the first date? Never, question mark. Never. That's interesting. I don't know if there's no right answer for this. I think it really just... I have one. I think it really... what I mean by that is... I guess it depends on this. Stop. You want to answer the question, bro?
Yeah. As soon as possible. As soon as it comes up, as soon as you can, as soon as you possibly can.
So here's my thing. I don't think it's necessary. It depends on the context. This is why I'm like all over the place. Because if me and you, if we didn't go out on the first time I met you, I'm abstinent. Like that wasn't a conversation. It wasn't even a conversation first time we went out. Like, are you abstinent? So so this is okay. Let's get into this.
This is what I mean by as soon as you can. If you have an opportunity to share that, take it. I don't think that you need to say, "Hi, my name is Pauline and I'm abstinent."
Thank you. That's what I was trying to make sure they don't do.
Right.
Some people are literal.
But obviously, how you meet somebody and how you're going out, context matters. So if you're meeting somebody that you don't know, like from an online dating app or something like that, I know people do put it, and we said in another episode that you should put it in your dating app.
Be bolded.
Yeah,
no sex.
Just so you don't waste your time, because a lot of people are on dating apps literally looking for one night stands and stuff like that. So like, I think the opportunity, when the opportunity comes up, you should talk about it. But I don't think that you need to create opportunities. But honestly, I feel like in a dating context, they come up. So it's even like, okay, before you talking about having sex and being abstinent or waiting until marriage to have sex, like if someone tries to kiss you, you can say, hey, actually, this is my boundary. And even if your boundary is like, if you are fine kissing them, you can say, hey, I'm comfortable kissing you at this stage, but it ends here at this line, and I hope that nobody is doing more than kissing as a Christian. But it ends here until my wedding day. I decided that I will not have sex, and then however they respond, we'll let you know. And if they say, "Oh, cool," and that's the end of it, and you might have to say, "Well, what is your boundary? What is your stance on this?"
So depending on how serious you are about your time, I definitely would say it up front and be like, "Hey, like I'm abstinent," because here's the thing. If someone is offended by you telling them that, and they're supposed to be Christian, why is that a bad thing? Like,
right.
Thank you for telling me that. I am too.
Right. It shouldn't be a big deal, especially if you guys are on the same page.
Period. Next question.
Okay, question 7. Should a lady make the first introduction?
So, I don't know what that means. Does it literally just mean, should you just go say hi? Like, if that's the case, absolutely. There's nothing wrong with that.
Not should, but she can.
Yeah, you can. Like, there's nothing wrong with that.
Mm-hmm.
Don't be weird.
Yeah.
But you just... Like, we talked about this on the podcast or one of our live events. Like, having conversations is healthy. Because you never know where a conversation can lead.
Right.
Like, absolutely, we're all about having conversations with people.
Right.
Now, should you be, like, asking the man out on a date? That's a whole separate conversation.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's tough because some guys are, like, on the shyer side or they just move a lot slower. Like, us girls, with everything, girls, I think, want to move faster than guys do. Like, we just want things to happen. Even the question we answered earlier about, like, getting, proposing and stuff like that, you don't ever really hear much of guys being like, I want to get engaged and my girlfriend is just dragging her feet. Like, when do you ever hear about that?
Let's just think about Oprah. And
he did it, and she accepted it, and then they changed their mind. But anyway, shout out to Oprah, wherever you are. But yeah, it's women are usually moving faster, but a lot of times, even for myself, I find that it's out of fear. It's like, oh, if this doesn't happen now, it's never going to happen. Instead of us aligning with God and aligning with His timing for our lives, like, you already know, and y'all who, like, you guys can listen to our proposal, like, engagement story. Like, I wanted to get engaged a lot faster than we did, like, probably a year, faster than we did or so. Maybe not a whole year, but, like, 8-9 months. So a lot of times the Lord, like, slows us down for a reason, to teach us something, to highlight what He wants us to learn. So if you are that situation, I'm not sure if this is a question from a guy or a girl, but if you're a girl thinking like, hey man, like, there's a guy that I have a crush on, I really want to talk to him, but like he hasn't approached me yet, or he hasn't kind of like made a move or anything like that, like what should I do? Like, you absolutely should have a conversation with him. Like, hi, how are you? Like, I noticed this about you, I noticed that about you, or like, what's your take on this, what's your take on that? Like, have a, like, not get him to notice you, but maybe he's been really wanting to talk to you too, but he just doesn't have the courage Yeah, or whatever, maybe going through something. I'm not sure. But yeah, you absolutely can have conversations. But as far as like, I'm not really sure what introduction means either. But you can probably do those too.
Yeah. Next question.
Number 8, are dating apps a good platform to meet single men? What have you heard? What do you know?
I don't know if it's a good platform, but it is a platform. So you could meet some single men on there, but from what we've heard, it's not the best pickings on there as
Good
far
options,
as
not quality options.
Christian, godly single men who truly submitted to the Lord. Some other options, we kind of talked about this on a couple podcasts ago with our friend Tiffany, talking about how she's trying to put herself out there more this year, going to whether it be concerts, like Christian concerts, where she know godly men will be at. We talked about maybe you can go to a Christian comedy
That's a good point.
event. Like, instead of, sometimes we only think I can either meet a guy at church or a dating app. And there's other avenues that you can meet people besides your church and a dating app where there may be some good Christian guys.
Yeah, that's really good because we've talked about this before too, but a lot of times guys don't pay to go to like dating mixers and like singles events and like stuff like that, but they will pay to go to a concert to see their favorite, artist or like worship leader or something like that, or for a comedy show or whatever. So I think that's really good.
Yeah.
Okay.
Last question.
Our last question. I think we said we had 10 questions, but we really have 9. So the 9th and last question. When should you introduce someone to your parents and social circle?
Yeah, again, this is one of those questions where everybody's going to be different. Because, like, I had you meet my family before we were ever officially
but that's
boyfriend,
what
girlfriend.
I asked for and what I wanted.
That's what I wanted. I don't remember you asking nothing.
I did.
wanted. Well, I'm this my story. I wanted her to meet my family. I don't know what she wanted. I wanted her to meet my family because I'm close with my family, and that's just how I flow and how I flowed at that time. So, but for some people, they may not have a close relationship with their family, or they may still not be positive about if this. I mean, first of all, that's a whole separate conversation. But if you're not positive about like, is this the person I want my family to meet? Like, it's a whole separate conversation. I think as soon as you can.
Yeah.
Because why not? As soon as you can, but it doesn't need to be rushed or forced.
Right.
And I think whenever you do introduce, and we have a whole video about when
Meeting
you should introduce the parents and all of that stuff, so check that out. But I think there's a good way to do it. And we talk about it in that video, but making sure that you prepare the person to meet your family. Like, don't let them be surprised. Like, if you got a crazy uncle, like, make sure they know that so they know how to prepare when that situation may come.
Yeah, exactly. I think a lot of it depends on just the speed that you're moving at in your relationship.
Sorry, I missed one thing. Can I say this real quick? She also said social circle. I would definitely have them meet your friend. Like, because some people kind of like, meeting the parents can kind of be like, I can kind of feel like a big deal to some people. Social circle, like, I would have them meet them as soon as possible because you don't want to just be dating by yourself.
Right.
Please date in community. Please date with other friends to be able to look and be like, yo, this guy is crazy, right? Like, or this girl don't really love God. Like, you want to have people who can, because you got these googly eyes where you can't really see. You just know they fine, they smell good, they can spell Jesus. Like, you got all these reasons why you like them.
People lie in dating too.
But let people see from a different perspective if this person is all that they say they are or that you think they are.
Yeah, absolutely, I agree. But yeah, it all depends on just your relationship with your family and your friends. I don't think that it needs to be something that you like fear, but it should be something you're excited about. And if you're not excited about it, asking yourself why. But if you do have the type of family that's like, hey, like, people don't bring boyfriend, girlfriends home, like, until they're ready to get engaged or something like that, and you're not trying to add that type of pressure to your family of like, okay, what does this mean if you bring this person around, then, like, maybe you don't do it in a super formal way, like inviting them to Thanksgiving, but you definitely, I think that if your family is very active, like if you're always having family events and family outings, and like, maybe you go to your little cousin's play, or like there's a cookout, kind of like more casual things, and your boyfriend or girlfriend wants to be involved in those, like, which is obviously a good sign, like you should definitely kind of take advantage of those opportunities, again, so that your family can warm up to them and get to know them better, and that they can get to know your family too, because they may be like, this family's crazy, I don't want to join this. But yeah, dating is all about evaluation, so you want to get as many opportunities to collect collect data as you can, and family is a great way to do that. Family adds just so much context to a person's life, so you're going to get to know them better. The quicker that you get around their family, the more you're around the family, the more you're around their best friends, their coworkers. Like, a lot of times people, when you're dating, you're like, you only see like certain parts of people's life, like of that person's life, but the more angles you can see them from, the better picture. You get a fuller picture of who that person is and who they've been. And family has obviously been there for the most part, throughout every season of their life. So you want to get in there, honestly, as soon as you can. I don't think that it needs to be something that is delayed. I think once you're in like an official relationship, like if it hasn't happened by then, it should start happening pretty soon.
Yeah. So that's it, y'all. Our 100th episode is in the books. Again, thank you so much for trusting us to walk alongside you and play a small part in your relationship journey. Whether you're single, you're dating, it's complicated. We are here for you. We love you. And we hope you stick around for the next 100 if it's the Lord's will. Make sure you check out our resources. We have so many resources on our website, wearejustdating.com. Whether it be questions to ask if you're in a relationship, ask the other person, hey, what do you think about boundaries? What do you think about family? What do you think about money? All of these things, we go into detail about that. And then also this week until February 6th, if you're watching this when it dropped, Just Dating University is open. If you're somebody who you never dated in a godly way before, you absolutely should take that course, because we're going to walk you through practically and biblically the steps you need to take to ensure you have a healthy relationship. And if you have dated in a relationship as a Christian before, but it didn't work out, but you didn't get married, we consider you try it out too, because for some reason the relationship didn't work out, and sometimes there's just one tool, there's a couple tools that we're missing, and we want to make sure you get that in Just Dating University. You get 12 video lessons talking about everything from boundaries to friendships to family, and you get monthly lessons with us where we answer your questions like this, but even better because we're in-depth, more specific, answering your questions. So consider joining Just Dating University. But if this video has blessed you, please share it with somebody. Let them know about the W Podcast, because we want to help as many people as possible learn how to date in the way that honors God. We love you, and we'll see you next week.
Bye.
Thanks for watching this video.
To get more Christian relationship advice, subscribe to our channel.
And make sure you check out our other videos as well.